While the name Alexander the Great evokes thoughts of an ancient Greek conqueror, in the realm of mixed martial arts, a different figure commands attention. The current UFC featherweight champion, Alexander Volkanovski. Renowned for his devastating striking abilities, sheer wrestling prowess, and an indomitable spirit, Volkanovski has ascended to the summit of his division, solidifying his status as one of the all-time greats as a featherweight. This journey explores the career of a dominant force in the MMA world. Born on September 29, 1988, in Wollongong, New South Wales, Alexander Volkanovski has a Yugoslavian, now North Macedonian, father and a Greek mother, which also led him to adopt the nickname of the Great, referring to Alexander the Great. He enjoyed early success in Greco-Roman wrestling, resulting in 2 national titles by age 12. Transitioning to pursue rugby when he reached 14, Alexander garnered accolades like the Mick Cronin Medal in 2010, before shifting to mixed martial arts at 22. He initially competed in multiple amateur fights, all the way up in the middleweight division, under coach Joe Lopez, as he adjusted from his rugby weight before turning professional and moving down the weight divisions to welterweight, lightweight, and ultimately the featherweight division. Volkanovski trains at Freestyle Fighting Gym in Wollongong, along with regularly attending training camps at Tiger Muay Thai and City Kickboxing in Auckland, tagging along with other famous UFC names like former UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya, Kai Kara France, and Dan Hooker. Volkanovski began his fighting career as an amateur middleweight, going on a 4-0 win streak before cutting down to more suitable divisions based on his height and frame. During 2012 to 2016, he competed in numerous Oceania and Asian MMA organizations, achieving titles in Pacific Extreme Combat, PXC, and Australian Fighting Championship, AFC, as a featherweight. With a record of 13-1, including 10 consecutive victories, a call from the UFC was bound to happen. He debuted on the 26th of November, 2016, at UFC Fight Night 101 against Yasuki Kasuya, whom he TKO'd in the second minute of the second round with powerful punches. During his post-fight interview, he announced his decision to drop down and compete in the featherweight division moving forward.
Submission attempt. That's going to do it. Alexander Volkanovski.
Featherweight in the division, but I want to work my way down to the bantamweight, but that's up to the big boy.
Alexander fought Mizuto Hirota at UFC Fight Night 110 next, and continued to display his punching power. In the end, he would win by unanimous decision, and continue rolling on to the next fight. Scheduled to fight Jeremy Kennedy at UFC Fight Night 121, Volkanovski faced a series of opponent changes. Kennedy withdrew citing a back injury, and was replaced by Humberto Bendene. However, Bendene delayed his debut due to uncertain personal reasons, leading to further replacements. Drex Zamboanga, and ultimately Shane Young. Despite these adjustments, Volkanovski emerged victorious in the catchweight bout at 150 pounds, securing a unanimous decision win. He later fought Kennedy at UFC 221, where he consistently kept his opponent grounded and kept peppering punches and elbows, securing the win.
Continuing to keep the pressure on, he is.
Helps him as well. He doesn't need a lot of room to land. He wants to continue fighting. He hasn't mentally given up yet.
The race to the unbeaten.
A stricter test awaited him on his following matchup against Darren Elkins. At this point, Alexander was riding a 14-fight win streak, and he added to it, defeating Elkins by unanimous decision in a meticulous display of precision striking, toughness, and superior wrestling.
Seconds are waiting for a third round after this.
Past this test with flying colors. Who do you want next?
My turf, Chad Mendes, me main event, let's do it.
Volkanovski then faced Chad Mendes at UFC 232. This fight was action-packed, as Alexander got dropped not once, but twice, before defeating the American by TKO, earning him his first Fight of the Night award.
Press. Volkanovski knows that he pushed a lot of energy out there.
I don't think it's a question of being.
Rip into the body, drops him.
That's it. Alexander the Great.
Alexander Volkanovski's next challenge would play a pivotal role in establishing himself as a serious contender. He was scheduled to fight on the UFC 237 card in Rio, against none other than former featherweight champion and Brazilian superstar, Jose Aldo. All the cards were stacked against Volkanovski, but he proceeded to show why he deserved the top spot.
Thinking when he walks to the middle and then he got his hand raised. Volkanovski got it done.
Perhaps he has done enough.
Since his initial foray into the sport, the Australian fighter had undergone notable advancements in both his striking and kicking techniques. His dedication and mindset to improve was the finest evidence. Moreover, his wrestling capabilities had evolved drastically, reflecting a newfound maturity and composure in executing these aspects of his skill set, while boasting an impressive 19-1 record. This overall refinement in his fighting arsenal underscored his commitment to growth and excellence in the competitive arena. Most of his leg kicks connected right on the money, and he outstruck Aldo as well. Alexander went on to win by unanimous decision, demanding a shot at the UFC featherweight title. At UFC 245, Alexander Volkanovski earned his coveted shot at UFC Gold, and only the champion Max Holloway stood in his path. Many fans thought Max was the pinnacle of precision striking in the division. The Titans battled it out, mostly on their feet, with Alexander attempting numerous takedowns and kicks. In the end, Volkanovski was elated when he heard his name after the unanimous decision call, and celebrated a hard-fought championship win.
Featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski.
Alexander's first title defense would be a rematch against Max Holloway, who was looking to right the wrong in a closely contested match. Volkanovski would earn the favor of the judges once again, getting the win via a split decision. The aftermath, however, saw abrupt controversy amongst media outlets. Out of the 27 media scores, 18 sided with Holloway, generating widespread debate. Notable figures in the MMA world, such as UFC President Dana White and John McCarthy, the creator of the rule system, expressed varying opinions on the contentious decision. His second title defense against Brian Ortega, initially set for UFC 260, was cancelled due to COVID. Volkanovski tested positive himself later on. The delays only further increased the anticipation, as the two would finally meet in the octagon at UFC 266, giving fans an exhilarating fight to remember. Alexander astonishingly managed to escape several chokeholds and submission maneuvers, setting the eyes of the world on his ever-expanding skill set as a fighter, along with earning him his second UFC Fight of the Night award for the unanimous decision win. Scheduled for UFC 272, Volkanovski's third clash with Max Holloway got postponed due to Holloway sustaining an injury. Chan Sung Jung would replace him, and the title bout would be shifted to UFC 273. Volkanovski dominated the fight against the Korean Zombie, securing a fourth-round TKO and earning himself a Performance of the Night award.
Safe to say Herb might jump in. Yeah. That's it.
Winner by TKO and still.
His trilogy bout with Holloway would come to fruition at UFC 276, in which he appeared to masterfully predict each move Max made, owing to experience in the past bouts against him. Alexander secured a unanimous decision and defended his title for the fourth time, extending his record to an eye-catching 25-1.
Great right hand from Volkanovski. Catches Holloway on the way in.
Holloway.
Short left gets home for Volkanovski.
Chasing double champ status, Volkanovski then decided to move to lightweight and challenge Islam Makhachev for the lightweight championship at UFC 284. In a full 5-round encounter, both fighters engaged in a closely contested battle, showcasing their skills pound for pound. Volkanovski adeptly countered much of Makhachev's intricate grappling, demonstrating resilience throughout. However, despite his efforts, Volkanovski experienced his first UFC defeat via unanimous decision.
For Volkanovski will be key.
That's nice! And I said this leading into this fight. The pace of this fight was ridiculous.
Incredible fight.
Marching forward, he would return to featherweight and defend his title against Yair Rodriguez at UFC 290. Man, did he make it look easy.
Job by Volk.
5 takedowns on 8 attempts, under 3 minutes. Really hurt now, cover it up. Close the distance, that would do it! And still, Alexander Volkanovski!
People would argue that he's run through a who's who of the featherweight division, and the UFC would have to find new challengers worthy enough to test him. In came undefeated Ilia Topuria, who has been at an all-time high in terms of confidence. But with Charles Oliveira dropping out of his fight at UFC 294 due to injury, Alexander Volkanovski stepped up on short notice to give a second crack at the lightweight belt. His dare to be great ultimately ended up in a devastating loss by head kick in the first round. After an impromptu rematch against Makhachev, the upcoming fight against Ilia Topuria was initially set to proceed on its original date of January 20th, 2024 at UFC 297. However, a later decision led to the bout being rescheduled for 1 month later, now headlining UFC 298 on February 17th, 2024, to give Volkanovski enough time for recovery and a full training camp. At this point, it would be pretty hard to argue against Alexander defending the featherweight crown. The main factors affecting this possible outcome will be his psyche and whether or not Topuria can catch him like Islam was able to. Either way, whenever he steps into the cage, we are treated to memorable performances. Well, that concludes our time for today. So tune in on February 17th at UFC 298 to witness Alexander the Great go for his 6th title defense.